way down south in the land of wonder, the land down under, Phillip Island Circuit is one of the greatest racetracks anywhere in the world. If you're looking for speed and close racing in Mazda MX-5s, this is the place, and that's what it's going to deliver for us with 45 minutes of racing for the Spec-5 World Tour, round 6 of season 18 from Phillip Island Circuit. 4.4 kilometers, just over 2.5 miles, 12 turns, and immense speed on the island on what's a good enough day for racing, as good as you'll ever find. Down here facing the Southern Ocean, David Haynes with Reese Gardner and Michael Derby here on HJBC as we bring you live coverage of Spec-5 World Tour.
That we do. Excellent to be here once again for what is our home race, David. Phillip Island, a incredibly fast circuit, one of the fastest in the Southern Hemisphere, and it has plenty of opportunities for slipstreaming and dives at the hairpins. It is the perfect track for some good MX-5 racing. I've been looking forward to this round from the very start of the season. I can't wait to see who comes out on top with the 45-minute race to come.
Yep, so much speed out of the final corner, long front straight, incredibly sweeping turn one. Anytime that your average speed is high, your slipstreaming is high, and it means that the Mazda MX-5 pack racing is close. It's door to door, it's bumper to bumper. It becomes not only about your outright speed, but about your ability to work together in the pack, what friends you've got, your strategizing, and your game of chess. So with the 45-minute race ahead of us, it's time to go qualifying momentarily, and that will set our grid. You can see that the wind's coming from the southwest, so it's probably going to blow a couple of penguins in and a bit of a gale.
Indeed, quite blustery here off the south coast of Victoria, right next to the ocean, and you don't want to leave your car out in that open sea air too long. You might get a bit of salt crust on your MX-5. Bit of a change of conditions for qualifying. Clouds have fallen over the circuit, and I think we're going to see the 24-degree track temperature drop ever so slightly. Let's see how much time they can get out of these cars. Now, there's no UV hitting the racetrack, one of the first out on track here in qualifying. Once again, every driver getting 4 laps over the next 15 minutes to set their spot for the grid.
So only 12 turns, but all of them uniquely challenging. Mitchell Peake on his outlaps just negotiated the southern loop. It's so long. It has a little bit of a crest in the middle, so you're heading uphill and then you switch and then you're turning downhill. The gravel builds up on the outside. The marbles build up around the outside line. It's very slippery there. Biggest braking zone on the lap is into turn 4, Miller Corner. Siberia here. Why is it named that, Reese?
That is a question that I cannot answer. I know that's
sure
a very
south. That's the wind, the direction that the wind comes in from, and when it's coming from the south, and when it comes from the south, it's coming from Antarctica, and when it's coming from Antarctica, it's cold.
Oh, it's freezing. Yes, I may be a fount of information about racetracks, but there are some gaps in even my knowledge, so it's certainly good to get educated there. Down to MG corner here for Mitchell Peake. This is one of those corners where you can really send one up the inside. Hard to commit to the pass, though, because you've got the 2 left-handers to end the lap. And if you end up getting slightly offline through MG, they're going to be right on your back into this final turn, and they'll be slipstreaming all the way down this long start-finish straight. Phillip Island, a bit of a rare circuit layout these days. Both the first and last corners are pretty fast, and so you don't see much slowing down in this initial part of the lap. Tipping it in here, I think just on the course, on the verge of flat out for Mitchell Peake before he brings it round for Southern Loop. This is a corner where you can take a couple of lines, but as long as you hit the apex that are near the end of the curb, you should be good on your way out. Then it's through the very fast left-hander, once again flat out, coming up to Jack Miller, the turn 4 hairpin.
All the way down to first. And turning around out of there, facing to go into Siberia. It's kind of Southern Loop Junior. It also just keeps going, but it's a little bit slower and a little bit tighter. And in some cars, you need a breather of the throttle. In some motorbikes, you need to get out of the throttle to make this change of direction through the hay sheds. Not really in these cars. We might almost be able to go too wide flat out through there for MX-5s, but not over the hill here. So just gradually tightening to an apex about at the crest of the hill. You want to stay left for your braking zone down the hill, and then get a little bit of the camber into MG that just helps you around the corner, because if you're wide of it, you lose a little bit of grip. Mini carousel. Pit entry is over to the left. Drivers will need that once during the race, but in qualifying here, Mitchell Peak stays committed to the final corner and stays just about flat out with that. Your view down the front straight with the crest in the road is just purely of the water. Believe me, the racetrack continues over the other side of the hill.
Indeed it does. Mitchell Peak's first lap, a 146.4. Michael Folds and Michael Chase have already gone faster than that, down to a 145.9 for Folds, our championship leader in the pro class. When they go on the formation lap, we'll have a chance to go through those standings. But for the moment, he is back on top in the number 15, and considering the track temperature is as cool as it is, I reckon these drivers are going to be committing to multiple lap runs. We've seen about half the field for the moment grabbing their first times, and field spread looking to be about 3 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be less during the racing because of the slipstreaming, but at the moment, we've seen some drivers be a little bit more tentative. Some drivers have come out of the gates quick. A possibility that that first lap in the session actually might have been the magic. The clouds were out quite dark and overcast right at the very beginning of this qualifying, but 5 minutes later, Todd Martin's got to mind that he doesn't get sunburnt, and I think that's Phillip Island weather for you.
Yeah, indeed. It may be pretty cool in this part of Australia, but it still has that southern hemisphere sun beating down on you when the weather is clear. And plenty of light out there on the track as well, nearly blinding us as the 777 of Todd Martin brings it through Siberia. Todd Martin currently on pole in the open class, but we're waiting to see if there's anyone else who's going to bring in some extra time here. We're still waiting on Jake DeGrand and Charles Vaccaro to set their times in the open class. Pretty much every other open driver has set a time, and looks like Jason Stalker brought the gap down for open class pole just then, down to a 146.8. So he and Todd Martin only separated by the number 94 of Sean Hayes. And Stalker seems to be building up some momentum as Eugenio Polici puts it on the provisional front row.
He does go through into second place. The number 7. He's going to continue on onto his second lap, so he's a little bit offset to some others. Only one lap completed from Polici and from Lincoln Fox, who jumps up into third, while Michael Foles has 2 completed. Michael Chase has 2 completed. Mitchell Peak's got 2 completed, so Eugenio Polici could yet go faster here. Same for Lincoln Fox.
So yeah, a lot of potential for big improvements to be made. No one's been able to touch Michael Folds just yet in this session. Still 8 minutes remaining. And we'll be waiting to see what Lee Martin, Rui Coimbra, Mike Oswalt, Kirill Bonda, Jake DeGrand, and Charles Vaccaro have to say about their positions at the very back. None of those drivers have set times yet. And interesting to note that Rui Coimbra is not alone. He is joined by Paulo Coimbra, who is in the open class in the number 65 entry, which is going to be interesting to see that matchup as Marshall Scara puts his number 350 into 10th overall, again bringing the gap down for open class pole.
Yeah, open class is going to be so close. It's actually the closest championship in points. Again, we'll look at that later on. And it is always so unpredictable in terms of, how many points are on offer. It depends on how well the pro drivers do. You can get a larger split between yourself and the rest of the field and create a big points delta if you get into the top 5 and no one else from your class can. So a race with high slipstreaming, if you can be clean and strategic, then that is a really massive opportunity for open class drivers in this championship to pencil and circle today as a chance to take some big points.
Yep, a lot of chances. And Paulo is really pushing it there out of Jack Miller. It's the first time in a bit I've seen an MX-5 go for that kind of slide. The drivers up the front of the field usually seem like they're on rails. It tends to lull you into a false sense of security about the MX-5. It does handle well, but it has a limit to its grip, and you'll certainly find it here at Phillip Island.
Michael Coates also offset has a new set of tyres for this run, and it's put him up to 3rd, where Michael Folds is way backed out of his 4th and final lap, so I don't think he's going to be able to improve. The story is everyone else. It's Eugenio Pellicci, it's Michael Coates, it's Lincoln Fox finding a purple sector over the hay sheds and now descending through MG. So if Fox can't go to pole, only needs to find 2/100ths of a second to be able to leap a spot.
All right, so Lincoln Fox through the final corner now. This is going to be the end of his 3rd lap. He will have one more to complete after this, but let's see if this one is enough to get in touch with Michael Folds, who has already completed all 4 of his laps. Fox does improve to a 45.9, puts himself into the top 3, but it's still not quite enough. Both Fox and Pellicci will have one more opportunity to get their times on the board and maybe demote Michael Folds off that overall pole position.
So quite a few drivers now have completed their laps and are parked up. Not Michael Coates just yet. Now, if he went for that 2nd set of tyres and it's just firing up now, then this could be a good lap. I don't think his middle sector was as perfect as some others that we've seen, but he started the lap well. And I think he finishes the lap with a small improvement, stays 4th.
Yes, ever so small improvement down to a 146.03. Mike Oswalt, his first time on the board, good enough for 9th. Fantastic stuff. That's a very good start for Mike Oswalt. It can only go up from here. Oswalt's time in practice was a 146.58, so he's already gone faster than he did in practice.
Odyssey Adams practicing the pit entry here. I don't think that lane into pit entry is as challenging as getting to the left-hand side of the road, exiting the penultimate corner, just to get yourself placed correctly. Eugenio Pellicci does not improve on his final lap. He did 4 laps in a row, and I think the tyres just go beyond their best.
Yeah, and Lincoln Fox is not going to improve either. He's decided to bring it into the pits. Rui Coimbra's first time on the board, 147.1. And Lee Martin now takes the open class pole position putting himself all the way up to 8th overall. That is fantastic stuff. So Lee and Todd both at the front for open, but Lee with a little bit more of an advantage.
And as we got more drivers completing lap times in qualifying, I feel like the field bunched up just a little bit more. 1 second covers your top 14. To 21st place is 1.5 seconds. And goodness me, is there basically a second and a half per lap of slipstream on offer around here. Again, you get to full throttle so early through the final corner. You're immediately at 5th gear, 6th gear speed, slipstreaming the whole length of the front straight here. And you basically don't need to brake for turn 1 either, so you're on the full throttle, maybe just in a pack needing to crack half throttle through here, and it creates a gigantic slipstreaming effect. Probably the only places that are going to give you more Daytona, Le Mans, and the Dottinghur.
Well, into the pits as goes Donny Moffat, but slightly off there.
Oh, and Britney Spears. Gimme more.
More. So, last couple of minutes of qualifying. We'll see if there's any improvements at all from these drivers who have committed to these final couple of laps. Coimbra, Rui Coimbra, to be precise, puts himself up into 18th, gaining a couple of positions. And Jake de Grand passes Paulo Coimbra for 24th on the grid there. Jake de Grand, of course, racing with hand controls. So good to see that he's out there and being able to set some quite competitive lap times. If there's any improvement for Mike Oswald, I have to wonder, will this be a bit of a surprise here at the end of the session? He should be able to get this time on the board, but no more after that.
During yesterday's practice session, I was listening to Jake de Grand, and he said that he wanted to have been doing every round this season, but medically it's been either advised against or been challenging. So we wish him all the best, because we don't want stuff like that to stand in between our drivers and doing what they love, racing in the Spec-5 World Tour.
Absolutely. All the best to you, Jake, for the race to come, and hopefully we can see you make more appearances towards the end of the season. So Mike Oswald remaining in P10 there. Did improve his lap time down to a 146.5, which is good to see. Lee Martin will not be able to finish this lap. 3-2-1-0, and goodbye to everybody as we get ready for the grid here for the 45-minute race to come.
Yep. The checkered flag waves on qualifying, and it locks in our grid. Michael Folds. It's the one to catch and the one to stop. And he is on pole by just over 1/10 of a second. Eugenio Polici's been competitive this season, and he continues that streak with a second place qualifying. Lincoln Fox in 3rd from Michael Coates in 4th. And then there's Michael Chase in 5th, Mitchell Peake in 6th, Donny Moffat, Eugenio's teammate, starts out of 7th. Lee Martin's our highest open class driver, and he swooped in late to snatch that 8th place there, making him the only open class driver in this top 10, because behind him is Odyssey Adams and Mike Oswald.
Sean Hayes starting out of P11. Todd Martin on the 6th row with him. Marshall Scara will take 13th ahead of Paul Murgatroyd there. Jason Stalker and Geordie Fike on the 8th row. Then it's Peter Rosokis, Rui Coimbra, Kyle Genski and Mark Kruger rounding out the top 20 cars, of which we still have a few more.
Yeah, indeed. Decent turnout. Phillip Island's been on iRacing for a long time. A lot of people have got it. It's popular for a whole heap of racing. It's almost Monza on an island in Bass Strait. Tom Egdon in 21st, Rob Conahan in 22nd, Travis Hewitt in 23rd, Jake de Grand in 24th, Paulo Coimbra in 25th is the last driver who set a qualifying time. Hello Race Control, and Kirill Bonder and Charles Vaccaro who didn't set qualifying times. Now, Charles Vaccaro didn't set a qualifying time and also didn't race anyway last week. So let's see what we get from him. Speaking of, Monza on Phillip Island, I don't think it's a good idea to walk your dog here because you'll scare the penguins.
Yes, you will.
Unless your dog is oddball.
True. Well, plenty of opportunity to walk your dog in other places around Phillip Island, like the township of Cowes, which is to the north of where this current circuit is. Cowes is also the location of the original Phillip Island track, which hosted what came to be known as the first Australian Grand Prix in the 1930s. It was just a rectangular circuit using the roads outside Cowes. It was a pretty simple layout and certainly not a patch on the circuit that we have today, which dates from the late 1950s, early 60s.
Let's look at our championship points at this juncture of the season. As we begin round 6, we're getting towards that halfway point. Michael Foles leads, extending his points advantage slowly round on round over Lincoln Fox. Eugenio Polici's had some good races, had some DNFs or missed some races. He sits in third, just ahead of Michael Coates and Michael Chase. Donnie Moffat, Odyssey Adams, Kyle Genske, Jared Collins, and Rui Coimbra complete the pro top 10.
That they do in the open class. Jerry DiPiero still on top, but his last round did not go too well, and I don't see him here today. So there's a chance he's going to lose that one to Paul Murgatroyd. Jason Stalker and Todd Martin equal on points for third. Hewitt and Martin separated by 6 points. Then Mark Kruger has a nice gap over Rick Wishon, Peter Brasokis, and Leonardo Guerra to round out the top 10 of the open points.
And over in Mr. Clean, the perfect donuts have disappeared. Lee Martin's now on 1. Michael Foles is on 2. And then Lincoln Fox, Brian Chabelski, Eugenio Polici, Rui Coimbra, Jordy Fike, Jerry DiPiero, Michael Chase, and Mike Oswald are our top 10 in the little championship that rewards clean driving and trying to avoid incidents. The field behind the BMW M2 CS Racing safety car are going through MG. The lights are off on the safety car. It's beginning to pull away from the field a little bit, and I'm beginning to get more and more excited about 45 minutes of Spec-5 World Tour racing in the high speeds of Phillip Island. Michael Foles and Eugenio Polici as the front row are side by side waiting for the green flag. Looking at who is on this grid. Someone's in the pit lane, and I think it's Marshall Scari. And we don't have Kirill Bonda or Charles Vaccaro on the grid either. As the green flag waves, the 45 minutes begin, and the throttle goes to the floor. There's a little bit of contact.
Oh, no!
A lot of contact further back. Tom Athon's gone hard into the wall, reminiscent of some V8 supercars incidents we've seen in years gone by.
Yeah, that was massive from Tom Athon. He got spat into the right side wall by Travis Hewitt as we find the rest of the field making their way through turn 2 nicely. Michael Foles from Polici, Lincoln Fox trying to get on the power a little bit harder to overcome Michael Coates. And he will have the inside line for the Miller hairpin. But for the moment, now we sort ourselves out. These cars have anti-lock brakes, so you can really push them hard in the braking zones, but you've got to be careful to slow it down in time for the apex. Everyone's fanning out, going 2-3 wide in places, but it looks like the majority of them have managed to get through cleanly.
So this is a look through the field. So just as we wave the green flag, a little bit of movement, a little bit of checkup, and Tom Athon gets pincered and sent across down the hill and into it's a retaining wall, and so it's actually got even less give than Armco or a concrete block would.
Yeah, indeed. Big, heavy damage for Tom Aythorn. He's had to tow back to pit lane, and looks like we're not going to be seeing much of him in the short term as the field's made its way through MG. Some very close racing going on here between Mike Oswald and Geordie Fike, and we'll see. Getting up the inside there. Oh, okay. A little bit of a problem there for Mike Oswald. A bit of 3 wide running your way through MG is never ideal. And he does have a little bit of slipstream off of Paul Murgatroyd, but it seems like Geordie Fike is getting pushed by Kyle Genski on the way into turn 1 here, battling overall for 14th place. But we've got a nice combination of pro and open class drivers in the midst of this fight, and it looks like they're just tapping each other through turn 2. Fike and Oswald do make a tiny bit of contact, but not enough to send either of them off, and they will keep going for now.
There's a couple of these corners where there's one line that's the best and everyone's crowding for that prime real estate. So a bit of door-to-door contact happening through Southern Loop, previously happening through MG, and now side by side in this section of the field where basically our top 22 are looking pretty unbroken. But this is the kind of thing that will spread the field if you battle side by side, corner after corner. Mike Oswald around the outside of Siberia.
Yeah, looking like Mike has been able to hold off Geordie Fike and Kyle Genski for now. They're still trying to go side by side through Hayshed, and it looks like Rui Coimbra is going to have a go at it, but a little bit offline into Lukey Heights, the highest point of the circuit. And then you dive down into MG. That downhill braking zone is so hard to nail. It's every time I go through there when I'm driving, I pray that the car will actually slow down, because it doesn't always.
So across the start-finish straight once again, Michael Foles is the pole sitter and he still leads, but Eugenio Pellicci now picking up extra speed in the slipstream to the tune of 2 or 3 kilometers an hour before he lifts out of the throttle and sits in second place. The rest of the group behind do so as well. So it's Michael Foles with his engineer's hat on saying choo-choo, while everyone else is taking a free ride.
Indeed, they've stepped into the carriages, and none of them are really playing the role of fireman to Michael Foles' driver. I think there's enough heat in this battle already to make the steam required to drive a steam locomotive into the hairpin. And Pellicci will stay nice and stable. Coates and Fox, they have raced side by side just about every single round this season. For the moment, it's probably smartest to stay in that single file. Donnie Moffat, teammate to Eugenio Pellicci, is right in this as well. He's up 2 places off his starting spot. The highest climber in the field is Jason Stalker, who sits second place in open class and in 10th place all the way back in this train.
The thing that I notice is our top 4 from qualifying are still our top 4 on track, but Donnie Moffat in 5th, come from 7th on the grid, and he's got his teammate Eugenio Pellicci up there in 2nd. Now this feels like at the moment it's becoming the kind of race where if you can work with your teammate, bump draft with your teammate, you can maybe have an advantage over the rest of the pack and the field. So we're focused on Moffat right now as he follows the driver in front, who follows the driver in front, who follows the driver in front, and just gives us the world's biggest version of one of those Caterpillar kids toys.
Yeah, it's a big game of Snake and everyone's chasing the cherry. So through turn 1, again, any moves to be made here? I mean, that is the question, right? I think what we're seeing from these drivers at the moment is how they're going to stay until the pit cycle comes around, barring a mistake from someone in the middle of the pack and splitting things up. It's smartest to just stay in the slipstream. You got to treat it almost like you're racing stock cars at Daytona or Talladega. You stay in the pack, and then when the pit stop comes around, that's when you start really making your moves.
Open class will also be immensely interesting across this race as well. So Lee Martin in qualifying had a nice gap, a couple of cars in between himself and the rest of open class. But yeah, Jason Stalker making all of those moves is right behind him. Todd Martin, we know, is a feature of the championship, is third in class and not too far away either. So there's Martin, leading class. Just a couple of car lengths behind him is Stalker. If he was directly behind him, he wouldn't be a Stalker.
No, certainly not. What would he be?
A backpack?
Jason Backpack. Cool. I'll reserve that name for when he's right on the back of the car then. Well, next lap begins, and interesting to see that Eugenio Pellicci is poking the nose out there. He's going for the lead on Michael Folds into turn one. It looks like Lincoln Fox is going to try and follow him. Interesting stuff. Change for the lead. Potentially, Pellicci and Fox have decided we've saved enough fuel in the slipstream.
Oh, bit of contact and some 3 wide back around Kyle Genske and Todd Martin, who we were just saying was a feature of the Open Class Championship. Now, I think Genske's looking to make some moves as a pro class driver, and he's come in between. Oh no, it's all happened in front of him, and he's just snuck through and found some extra presents underneath the Christmas tree.
And it looks like contact between Murgatroyd and
Martin.
Yeah, Todd Martin potentially. We'll keep an eye on that battle to see what develops, but we'll see. The number 777, yeah, it was Todd Martin. A little bit of a shuffle out wide in turn 2, which happens an awful lot.
So we have 24 cars running. Tom Athon looking like he might be a retirement from this one. Kirill Bondar and Charles Vaccaro not taking the start. Marshall Scari potentially having some technical issues at the moment is the reason I bring it up. No, I think he's back. So you've got this top 9 from the lead. That contact at Southern Loop creates a bit of a gap between 9th place Lee Martin and 10th place Sean Hayes. Could still close up, but then from 10th all the way through to 18th, a very tightly packed group as well. So we're going to see more moves happen at the very lead of the race. Eugenio Pellicci gets to lead a lap. Michael Folds strikes back, but remains side by side as the track switches direction to the left into Southern Loop. So Folds sends it really fast around the outside, gets wide. Marbles haven't yet built up greatly there, but as the race goes on, they will.
Yeah, they absolutely will. If there's any time to try running side by side, it's now when the track is still clean. Folds and Fox side by side as Pellicci tries to get away. But I don't know if you'd want to. I think you'd want that opportunity to stay in the slipstream and keep the pace up. You don't want to be the driver leading the charge for too long. Folds ultimately has to give way to Lincoln Fox, and now Michael Coates sees another chance. Donnie Moffat not too far behind this one as well. This top 9 pack is certainly looking good, but keep an eye out on the battle for 10th on back. They're only about 1.5 seconds behind. Sean Hayes and Kyle Genske are going to increase that gap a little bit by going side by side here.
As he did a week ago at VIR, Kyle Genske's race pace is looking much stronger than his qualifying performance. So he's trying to now cut his way through the open field, and doing so as he is now up 8 positions from 19th on the grid to racing in 11th. Sean Hayes is now midway between the leading group and where all of our open class drivers are, including Todd Martin getting a little bit wide, means Peter Rasakis is going to overlap him coming into the final group of corners. So open class is Lee Martin, part of the lead pack, and then Jason Stalker, Paul Murgatroyd, Peter Rasakis, and Todd Martin in this next pack. Lincoln Fox goes to the lead of the race, so they're beginning to swap on the front straight almost every time by. Eugenio Pellicci, I think, will hold on a second. Folds goes to try a repeat of a lap ago, and again finds as you go over the crest of the hill, if you're out wide, you wash out and you can't carry speed, and he'll stay third, a little bit overlapping Michael Coates, who is once again racing on iRacing, flying the flag of Antarctica. So this is probably as close to a home race as he's ever going to get.
Yeah, indeed.
Once they stand McMurdo Station.
Yeah, indeed. I got to wonder what kind of a circuit you could get at McMurdo. There's probably be a bit less grippy than Phillip Island, to be sure, and yeah, you'd need tire warmers, I would reckon. Well, Sean Hayes, I think we can say, has officially joined this pack. He's classed as within a second of Lee Martin here. And he was also the fastest car on track last time round, was Sean Hayes. So things are looking good for the only driver flying the flag of Australia in this field. We'll see if he can work his way up.
Phillip Island, like Australia as a whole, girt by sea, and Sean Hayes should know that.
Certainly should.
Genski's about within his slipstream, so it kind of begins to form up the continuous line again, still before the pit window. For anyone who thinks I'm going to pit out of this traffic, but I think if you do, you'll kind of get left behind. It is Daytona, Talladega rules out there. Michael Folds passing Lincoln Fox, getting down the inside of Eugenio Pellicci, and it is 2 for 1. Folds is going back to the lead of the race from Pellicci, and Fox, Donnie Moffat's made another spot up into 4th, so he's only 1 spot separated from Eugenio Pellicci now as Fox is wide out of the southern loop. You can see that gravel just making its way onto the racetrack around the outside there as well.
Yeah, need to be careful of that. Don't run too wide, otherwise you'll get those tires dirty. So, into the hairpin once more, and the 720 of Donnie Moffat has been steadily climbing his way up through this pack. He's been taking advantage of those little side-by-side moments at the front. And I think all of the jostling for the lead has started to bring that second pack back into it as well. I see that Kyle Genski has now latched onto the back of Sean Hayes, and we see that Stalker, Murgatroyd, Coimbra and company are not that far behind. So this is turning into one of the closest races we've seen this season.
Here we go through MG. And then back up the other way. A lot of the walls around the racetrack here are earth-filled berms. And Rui Coimbra's around the exit of MG. I think there's been some contact.
Stalker as well. Jason Stalker's just towed back to pit lane. We'll see what happened here. Oh, no! So Jason Stalker blew his engine on the way down into MG. I think the revs were a bit too high on the downshift.
Yep. A little bit of money shift, perhaps. Going sequential too quickly. And then just a check-up on the exit is what caught him out for Rui Coimbra. Like,
yeah.
Smoke should have perhaps been a tip-off.
Well, I mean, from Coimbra's perspective, I guess, you know, one of the ideal lines through MG is to go narrow on the exit to widen the line through the next left-hander. But yeah, maybe he was expecting Stalker to have pulled off the circuit by the time he got there. Obviously, he didn't.
So no one has pitted yet except for those with damage like Tom Athon, heavy contact on the race start. Jason Stalker just now making a bit of lunch out of his engine. And it's looking like a top 11 is this group heading over Lukey Heights. Kyle Genski in the caboose situation. 10 positions, but only 3 seconds away from the race lead is never actually a bad place to be at this stage of the race, with a third of it done and 2/3 of it and a pit stop still to play out.
Yeah, indeed. It's still very early runnings in this race, and, well, the first 15 minutes of the race are gone, so I guess we can officially call the pit window open. It's usually when we see pit stops being made, in the middle 15 minutes of an event. Folds, Pellicci and Fox more than happy to continue their battle for the top 3, and Donnie Moffat has officially joined them now. So Moffat and Polici, the teammates, will try their best to get a two-pronged attack going here. Lincoln Fox forced wide, and that'll allow Polici at least to have a clean run out of turn 2. Donnie Moffat having a bit of a tougher time, it has to be said, and that'll bring Mitchell Peake and Michael Coates right back into the fight too.
Ooh, big compression and traffic into the braking zone there. It was only in the last year that I learned that a concertina is a musical instrument, not unlike an accordion, and not just the name of things compressing.
Indeed. Well, I suppose accordion effect, concertina effect, it ultimately means the same thing, doesn't it?
Whereas a concertina is Tina Arena.
Absolutely. Now, is anyone going to go for pit lane this time? Is anyone going to be the first to blink? Not quite yet. Oh, actually, yeah, Michael Coates is coming in, and it looks like he's being followed in by Michael Chase. So let's see.
Actually, a very quick pit delta here at Phillip Island. The pit lane speed limit's changed up from 50 or 60 to 72 kilometers an hour. You get to cut a little bit of the final corner, and it's not a super long pit lane. Now, you lose some time on the blend from the exit all the way to turn 1, but that's also kicked off everyone else getting their aggressive big boy boots on in this top 5. Polici, Fox, Folds, Moffat, and Peake all jostling for the high ground into 1 and 2.
So Coates and Chase were the only 2 drivers to pit just then, and it looks like Chase has had a quicker pit stop, 1.7 seconds faster than what Michael Coates could manage, and he will come out ahead just in time for Paulo Coimbra to arrive on the scene here. Paulo has had a few problems in this race thus far, but might be able to latch onto the back of these 2 and maybe gain some track position on anyone he's racing with before he comes in for his pit stop. But yeah, the 2 big outliers there, Chase and Coates. Have to wonder if that's going to work out for them, because as far as drafting buddies go, they've only got each other.
Maybe they have seen the top 3, 4 begin to just battle each other a little bit more, and they thought, we can do better in our own little window. Does anyone respond from this top group? Getting pit entry on the left. Yes, Lincoln Fox.
And it looks like Donnie Moffat is going to follow him in. So this will be interesting. Well, let's see where they come out, because, yeah, remember the pit stop time for Chase and Coates, about 16 to 17 seconds. That's what we're expecting here for Fox and Moffat. Geordie Fike also coming into the pits behind these 2. And it looks like Rui Coimbra is going to be the next to jump in too. So pit lane starting to become a bit more of a hive of activity now. And pit stop's about halfway done for the drivers currently at a standstill. It's about the same for Lincoln Fox and Donnie Moffat. They've had good runs through pit lane just in time for Chase and Coates to arrive on the scene. You just saw them sneak into the bottom of the frame there, and you'll see them appear over the top of the hill. A little bit more momentum down the start-finish straight. They're going to go for it on Donnie Moffat and move through, gain track position on him. But Lincoln Fox a little bit further ahead.
Now, I wonder if we're again seeing a split strategy, cars that take 2 tyres versus those that don't. Definitely saw Fike and Coimbra take right-hand side tyres. Not sure that I saw Lincoln Fox's right side of the car go up. It might be just a tiny bit more costly to take those tyres, but you're thinking it'll give you time later on. Mark Kruger's just got himself a meatball flag in the last 30 seconds.
Ooh.
For the number 90 as Jake de Grand comes to pit lane for his stop.
Does indeed. DeGrand, the only one to come into the pit lane thus far. Now, Mark Kruger, I've just gone back to check. A very interesting incident. It looks like he potentially made a late decision to come into pit lane. Watch him here. So I think he's searching for the pit entry lane, realizes he's missed it, and then loses control of the car, gets head on into the retaining wall, and then he'll tow back to pit lane after attempting to get back into the pits. That wasn't the end of the incident. The damaged car making its way into pit lane, he ended up running straight into a wall again right at pit entry. But look at this. A lot of drivers in the pit lane right now. That's going to be Odyssey Adams, Mitchell Peak, Kyle Genske, all jumping in here. That'll leave Eugenio Pellicci, Lee Martin, and Sean Hayes up the front of the field, and now things are starting to get interesting.
Yeah, they are quick stops from Folds and Peak are ahead of Chase, Moffat, and Coates, and ahead of Fox. Eugenio Pellicci stays out, leading the race, even though his teammate Donnie Moffat jumped for the lane early. There's Lee Martin still leading the open class from Sean Hayes. Behind him, Paul Murgatroyd and Todd Martin in the open class are second and third. Highest running open class driver to have pitted at this point looks to be Peter Rasorkas. So I think a lot of our open class drivers are running longer than some of the pro class drivers have.
Well, a lot more intrigue to come from this round. About 2/3 of the field thus far having completed their stops.
It's down the front straight. Eugenio Pellicci sets a 146.6. Michael Chase did a 146.4. So it's a chance that the pack of drivers that have pitted pick up more speed than Pellicci can do on his own, as Mike Oswald and Paul Murgatroyd will come to pit lane.
Jake DeGrand with an issue on the inside of MG. He was stopped off the course. He's managed to get back going again. I think he was just taking a bit of an opportunity to maybe work through some issues that he was having. Looks like Marshall Scara, unfortunately, is out of this race now, thanks to connection issues. Of course, the relatively new connection flags that iRacing has, that was automatically done by the sim. Just kicked him out. That's unfortunate.
All of my connections are red flags.
Some of mine have been too. Currently, I'm
like
dealing
that.
with a few green flags, which is really good.
Oh. Don't forget that Saturday at the Bathurst 12 hour is Valentine's Day.
Oh, it is too. Oh, I'll have to keep that in mind. Well, Eugenio Pellicci now out in the lead here with the number 7. There we go. It's always fun watching pit entry at Phillip Island. You never know until the last moment if someone's coming in. Pellicci pushing as hard as he dares on the way in.
And someone's probably, Mark Kruger, has brought gravel across the pit entry as well, which is only one lane wide. Yeah. It's like doing a highway speed down your driveway. And Pellicci, by virtue of where he qualified in second, has a very nice grid slot. Now, those are the left-hand side tyres.
Probably because they're closer to the garage, and so...
everyone else has been taking rights.
Sometimes you get a quicker pit stop if you change the tyres closest to the garage side, because there's less time taken to bring them around for the virtual pit crew. Well, regardless, Pellicci is out. Here they come indeed.
And Peak and Fox and Chase. And the speed difference is wild. We've all been on a freeway on-ramp with someone who merges like that. It's like, you got to put your foot down just a little bit earlier if you're going to zip in.
Yeah, you got to have big vroom vroom in order to survive in those conditions. Regardless, Pellicci has come out pretty much at the back of that pack. He's got the slipstream of everybody ahead of him, and He may well be able to work his way back up to the front by the end.
Lee Martin has gone around on his outlap. The open class leader has lost all the advantage that he had built to Todd Martin, Peter Resorkis, and even to Travis Hewitt, who hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah, still waiting on Travis Hewitt to come in. We'll see what happened to Lee Martin here. This was through Southern Loop in front of Kyle Genske and just lost the rear end on the way into the corner. Easy to do.
Yes, and it was his outlap, so he would have been dealing with potentially cold tyres or asymmetrically cold tyres, and he went for a Southern half loop in that case. Travis Hewitt's the only driver out on track who hasn't visited pit lane yet. Surely that's coming soon for the 702. But not today. Okay.
Yeah, Travis Hewitt evidently trying to extend that fuel tank as long as it will possibly go. I'm not sure where he's going to come out in the midst of all of this, but considering the problems that we just saw for Lee Martin, maybe staying out a little bit longer isn't a bad idea. So the battle for the effective race lead. Lincoln Fox has the slipstream, and so does Donnie Moffat, both of them making moves on Michael Folds and Odyssey Adams there. Looks like Polici and Coates at the back of the pack are just content to hang out there for now and watch everything happen ahead of them. Adams coming back on Moffat coming out of turn 2, and it looks like Michael Chase is going to get in on this fight as well. Remember, Chase and Coates were the first drivers to pit out of this pack.
Well, there's a couple of lanes in use in the braking zone towards turn 4. And then a little wide on the exit towards the AstroTurf goes Lincoln Fox, but Folds and Peak just drop in line. So it's the battle behind that, where Odyssey Adams had Donnie Moffat sniffing around. Moffat now needs to try to cover off Michael Chase. And then nose to tail for that top 3. And then for Moffat and Polici having a look to the inside of Lukey Heights. Okay.
Not usually a move you see work out. They compress into MG. Little bit of extra pace mid-corner for Donnie Moffat there. And now we will see the last 16 minutes of this race start with the pit cycle complete for everybody. Now that Travis Hewitt has jumped into pit lane. Now, where is Travis going to come out in all of this?
Could be a spicy fight for open class, as well as for the outright lead of the race. Fox and Folds side by side towards turn 1. 3rd and 4th place lift out of the throttle to see how it's going to play out in front. And it means Michael Folds is back to the lead of the race. Oh, nearly some door-to-door contact there. And as Michael Chase tries to avoid, he goes wide, just gathers it up, but might go to the very tail of this train. Seeing Polici close on Moffat.
So Travis Hewitt's stop is complete, and he has one of the longest pit stops of anybody at 21.5 seconds, and he's come out in no man's land, unfortunately. So not much of a chance of gaining anything on his open class rivals. Lee Martin still leads the open class, and by about 6 seconds over Todd Martin. In fact, Lee has just made a move on Mike Oswalt to get into 12th position overall, so things are going pretty well for car number 149. Oswalt gets back past him as they both try to chase down Geordie Fike.
Yeah, not a bad spot here again for Lee Martin, where he's with a couple of pro drivers. It's created a gap to the rest of the open class field. He's still going to try to battle it out with Mike Oswalt.
Ugh. Yeah, I suppose these three are in their own little world at the moment. There's not much chance of them catching up to the drivers ahead. Well, maybe there is if they end up working together. But now that you've committed, now that you've settled into this rhythm for the end of the race, I'm sure that they'll try to have a bit of fun on their way to the finish. Our battle for the lead continuing. Michael Folds getting back ahead of Lincoln Fox. Odyssey Adams up the inside of Donnie Moffat moves up into 5th place. But, you know, you get the feeling like with any high-speed draft-heavy circuit, all of this is just a preliminary dance to prepare for the final lap.
Yeah, it's 10 moves ahead of the final checkmate on the chessboard, isn't it? Trying to place yourself to then place yourself to place yourself to win. So that does involve probably getting into the top 3 or at least the top 5, and it's an 8-car pack. So that's where some of the angst comes from right now, because you do eventually need to start making some moves if you're Eugenio Pellicci or Michael Coates or Michael Chase and you think you're going to get on the podium. But the top 2 have just sort of been swapping for the moment, and eventually someone counts backwards and realizes that when the music stops, they're not going to have a chair.
Yeah, I wonder who that's going to be. If anything, it might be the leader coming onto the final lap. Obviously, Folds is up there at the moment. He's the one punching the hole in the air for everyone else. He's using the most fuel. And I'm sure if a move is made for the lead in the next couple of laps, he's not going to fight too hard to keep it because he knows he can just slipstream right back. Here's the move then. Lincoln Fox and Mitchell Peak bump drafting past Michael Folds into turn 1. And that will be Fox to the lead once more. Folds is fighting this one a little harder than I thought he would. He's trying to stay in 2nd place. He wants to be I guess not the head of the snake, but rather the first vertebra.
Everything that's a vertebrate is descended from fish. We're all fish. Even fish. Odyssey
Really?
Adams and Mitchell Peak side by side. Yeah, I think so.
Fish are fish?
Yeah, well, but there's no such thing as a fish, so they're not. Peak, when he tried to go for 2nd. Oh, now there's...
Oh, no!
Dramas off at turn 4.
That's Odyssey Adams that's been spun around out of that. And Sean Hayes will move through. Oh, dear. So what happened here? Oh, it was just a little checkup from Adams there. I'm unsure how Pellicci ended up getting involved in that, but that is disastrous for Pellicci, who started this race in 2nd place.
Just a checkup through the corner, isn't it?
I reckon, yeah, onboard will tell the story. So, okay. So Pellicci got kicked into a slide somehow there. I think there might have been a 3rd car involved in all of that, and ultimately, no steering at Siberia, gets into the retaining wall, and that's him out.
And then there were 6, and Lincoln Fox was going for the race leader around the outside of Michael Folds. Folds now around the outside of Southern Loops, going to need to pinch down and... doesn't, runs out of space. Not a lot of grip out there, as Mitchell Peak discovered just a lap ago. Now Peak is in the right spot, trying to get a little bit of a side draft off 2nd place. And therefore it's a buffet of slipstream for Michael Chase. Wherever he goes is smooth sailing and tailwinds.
It's always heart and mouth stuff when they get into the hairpin there, because it's a bit faster than it looks, that hairpin, and you can brake a bit later than you think, as long as you have the rotation right. So to see them pull it up like that, I always wonder, is there going to be contact? And I can't help but breathe a sigh of relief when there isn't. For now, though, we're in the final 10 minutes, David. This is where we're going to start seeing things really get set up for the finish. Sean Hayes is still off in the background. You see him just pop over the hill in the background. It doesn't look like he's going to have much to say in this fight, but if there's an incident and they end up spreading out a bit, I'm sure Hayes is going to be right there to fight.
So Fox with like 4 car lengths on Peak and Folds coming onto the front straight. It closes rapidly as they're side by side for second, and Fox is the middle of the road. Mitchell Peak has to make a decision, so he bump drafts Fox. Folds carries the momentum around the outside and into the lead of the race.
Right, so, oh, hello. That's Chase getting a little bit more momentum on the inside of turn 2. That'll shuffle Mitchell Peak wide a little bit and bring Donnie Moffat back into the fight too, latching onto the rear. And a slight defense there from Michael Chase. That's pretty deep from Donnie Moffat. Fortunately stays out of the back of Michael Coates.
I'm seeing something at 8th, and I'm looking at the pit stop time of Odyssey Adams, and I'm wondering if he isn't needing to save quite a bit of fuel. Minute 47 last lap compared to his race best of a 45.4. He was basically by himself after a very short pit stop, and now him and Kyle Genske have been caught, I think, by Geordie Fike, Lee Martin and Mike Oswalt. Martin and Oswalt continue to battle each other. So 6 cars for the race lead, if you don't mind. 5 cars here, and Adams could be in a tiny bit of trouble if he's done his sums wrong.
Yeah, it is a suspiciously quick pit stop, but we have to remember that Michael Folds also has a 15.3 second stop to his name. So if Adams ends up being in trouble, we could expect Folds to be in trouble too.
I think the last 2 laps could be incredibly interesting, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Lincoln Fox leads the race. And Mitchell Peak can't decide what role he wants to play in this, but Michael Chase gets in between what had kind of become our dominant duo of Fox and Folds, and kind of has been at points all season, looking to the inside of turn 4 on Fox, who runs wide. So Michael Chase has got a good opportunity here. No, it'll end up single file through Siberia again. But they're getting punchier, and I'm pretty sure it was 4 laps to go when they crossed the line. So you begin to count backwards, and the hot seat gets hotter, and everyone gets just a little fidgetier.
Yeah, my timing is telling me when they cross the line next, there will be 3 laps to go. So we'll see who's best placed at the moment. Donnie Moffat right at the back of the pack is going to have a lot of work to do. And by the same token, Lincoln Fox and Michael Chase are vulnerable at the front. So I think it's Folds and Peak who would probably be the ones best placed, as Michael Coates was shuffled back to the rear of that pack. Seems like he and Chase are having wildly different races, having pitted at the same time.
Michael Chase was attached to Lincoln Fox's rear bumper through the final corner and pushes him all the way down the front straight. Despite that, Michael Folds pulls out of line and goes to the lead of the race. They all begin counting backwards on the race distance now as well. But Michael Chase is like maybe trying to build some favor with Lincoln Fox and see if he can get that repaid later on. Traffic stays well out of the way, which is nice of Jake DeGrand.
Doing a little bit of lawn mowing through turn 2 as they come down to the hairpin. Defensive from Michael Folds. Lincoln Fox on the racing line, but Folds is the first to the apex and holds on to the lead. Yeah, I don't see any signs of Folds having trouble with fuel, so I reckon for Odyssey Adams it's just a case of maybe being a little rattled from the earlier incident that put him outside of this fight. Regardless, he will be making good use of the slipstream from Genske and Fike as well. But into Lukey Heights for the 3rd last time they will come. Plenty of gravel on the outside of the circuit there too. You definitely don't want to run wide there. And then you're basically flat out from here through to turn 1 and even turn 2. It is amazing how much the nature of the MX-5 influences how you drive a circuit. Like I've almost exclusively driven faster machinery at this circuit, and so I have an idea of what the flow is like. It's nothing like that in an MX-5. You just foot to the floor most of the way around.
Chase again, pushing Michael Fox, deciding that's who I'm trying to assist. Hasn't quite worked out as he was wide through 1. Peak got alongside him. Oh, and now Peak left too much space to the inside of the southern loop, and Donnie Moffat wanted some of that.
Oh.
In the next group, Odyssey Adams has dropped back as Fike and Genski moved ahead. Lee Martin's still in the middle of that, and that still side by side heading towards turn 4. Just I say that, looks like Adams is going to drop another. Lee Martin needs to be careful here, but he's 90% of the way to a pretty nice payday.
Certainly is. As Adams makes his way back past. It looks to me like, yeah, I think Lee's best bet here is to just try and hang with this pack. He doesn't have to be right at the front of it, as long as he keeps that gap to Todd Martin. He will have the open class win in his sights. So we'll keep a close eye on how everything's going with regards to that. Todd Martin and Peter Rosakis are about 7 seconds or so behind that pack at the moment.
This is close on the clock, Reese. We're doing minute 45 laps.
Yeah.
Look at how much time's on the clock and where we are geographically. Is it white flag this time? It probably should be.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably must be.
Where's Barney? There he is. White flag. Final lap begins, and we're side by side for the lead, David.
You bet we are, and this time Michael Chase switches allegiance. He's pushing Michael Folds as Folds goes around the outside of turn 1, as you can do in an MX-5. Oh, back on the track, but with some dirty tires.
Oh,
Michael
no.
Chase makes contact with Mitchell Peak, who goes around. Donnie Moffat into 4th. Michael Coates up into 5th. Mitchell Peak copping big hit in the door from the rejoining Michael Chase. Michael Folds leads, but only a 1/10 of a second from Lincoln Fox, who senses multiple opportunities on this final lap to take the race win away. Here at turn 4, maybe into MG, maybe a really good run off the final corner. You can be dead level by the time they get to the timing line. So there's options and possibilities still. It's not sealed. It's not a done deal. And you've still got Michael Chase, who could play Kingmaker.
Indeed he could. Is there any chance for Donnie Moffat or Michael Coates to get in amongst this as well? All it's going to take is a little problem for someone at MG, and that's going to be that. Odyssey Adams has towed back to the pits. I think he might have...
Blew his engine.
Yeah, blew his engine. So whatever questions there were over fuel for Adams, they won't be answered. Inside at MG for Michael Coates, doesn't work on Donnie Moffat, and now the race is between Folds and Fox at the front of the field. Can Michael Chase get in on this too?
Michael Chase will decide who wins this race, because Lincoln Fox is half a car width behind Michael Folds, about to pull out of the slipstream, headed towards the checkered flag, and Chase goes the other side, 3 wide. No finish is won by Lincoln Fox by 14 thousandths of a second.
That's crazy. Excellent stuff. The top 3 covered by less than 100th of a second at the line. That was awesome. I loved that.
Yeah, super close, but Fox was the right distance back. There's enough of a run from the final corner to the checkered flag to make it happen. Open class win went the way of Lee Martin, so he brought that one home. He actually, I think, had to dodge Odyssey Adams' blown motor, and he was, what's that, only just behind Kyle Genski, I think. Rosakis got 2nd in class. Todd Martin got 3rd in class.
Yeah, that's curious. That happened sometime in the last couple of laps. I could swear Todd Martin was in second before that.
Don't know. Basically, everyone's seen the checkered flag, including Rob Conahan there. This is how they finished. And it was so close in that top three. They were overlapping side by side, coming to the checkered flag at the end of 45 minutes at Phillip Island in the Spec-5 World Tour. Lincoln Fox, 14 thousandths of a second ahead of Michael Folds. And Michael Chase in third himself, less than a tenth of a second behind the race leader. That's how close that top three was. Things had opened up in the lead pack a little bit with some of the incidents over the previous 15 minutes as Donnie Moffat finished fourth and Michael Coates finished fifth. Sean Hayes, lonely back half of the race, but still gets rewarded with 5 positions gained and 6th place. Mitchell Peak ended up rejoining just ahead of the next pack. So he was only just ahead of Geordie Fight, Kyle Genske, Open Class winner Lee Martin with 10th outright, Mike Oswalt in 11th, and Peter Rasorkas and Todd Martin, Paul Murgatroyd, Rob Conahan, Travis Hewitt, Jason Stalker, and Paolo Coimbra. Odyssey Adams will be the first car off the lead lap by towing on the final lap. No, so he'll be the last car on the lead lap because he started the final lap, but lapped down cars didn't. So that gives him 19th. Mark Kruger, 1 lap down, 20th. Jake DeGrand, 2 laps down, 21st. Rui Coimbra, 3 laps down, 22nd. Eugenio Polici, I don't know if that's 7 laps down or a retirement, but 23rd. And then technical issues in the connection, taking Marshall Ascari. Tom Athon on the opening lap of the race with massive damage, and Kirill Bonda and Charles Vaccaro not showing up.
Yeah, unfortunately. So we don't see all of the drivers who showed up to the race taking part, but regardless, we still got a fantastic result out of that one. 0.077. That is the gap that Michael Chase had to Lincoln Fox for the victory. He picked up the slipstream almost at the right moment. If there was another 100 or so meters before the start-finish line, he might have been able to get both Fox and Folds, but that just goes to show, at a track like Phillip Island, you have to be on your A game the whole time.
Sure do, and our open class winner is going to join us, Lee Martin. What's it like spending so much of the race sandwiched between the pro class drivers going, well, I want to run my race as quick as I can. I want to finish as high as I can. But in a sense, it's only half my battle. The other half is knowing.
I'll tell you, being in the middle of it's a whole lot better than being at the back of it. But it was great to follow the draft up until the pit stop. And then had a little issue coming out of the pits with, I think Kyle was a little quicker than me. I tried to go a little wide to give him room, and you don't want to go wide on this track on cold tires. So... but great race, great run, and it's fun racing with the guys in front, man. They're so clean, so quick, so respectful. It's good stuff.
What's your favorite species of penguin? Is it the large and majestic emperor penguin, or is it the tiny rockhopper penguin with its little moustache?
Well, if there's not a turtle version of a penguin, I guess I'll go with the emperor penguin.
Yeah, interesting. And Phillip Island, I guess you found it, high speed, somewhat challenging?
I love this track. Challenging with my practice lap being my qualifying lap, but found enough to get to the front of the pack. And from there, it was just holding on. I love the flow of this track. I love the feeling of being sort of on the throttle to kick the rear end around, on the brake to kick the rear end around. I mean, it's just a beautiful track. So it's fun to be here and happy to perform reasonably well.
How many incidents did you get?
Oh, you're killing me, David. I think I collected 3.
Ooh, well, you feature heavily in the open class standings and the Mr. Clean standings, and everything is about balance, and you'll move up on one, and things perhaps get more precarious for you on the other.
Excellent point. Yeah, just like that balance of trying to figure out whether I wanted to try to pass a couple of the pro drivers to pick up a couple extra points. Easy enough to just sit tight where I was and collect the open win, but I think I'm down enough points, especially after missing last week, that I needed everyone I could scrape together, so it worked out okay. Did Odyssey blow his engine?
Yes.
A few did. So did... can you save me here, Reese?
We also saw, I believe, not Tom Athon.
Did Jason Stalker do it?
Yes, I think Jason Stalker did do it, but he made a recovery to finish 17th, which is quite impressive, honestly.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll call that a gift, but I'll take it. I needed the points.
Thanks for chatting with us, Lee. Congratulations on the class win. And it could have been more than 3 incidents, so we'll catch you next time and hope you had a good one.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to watching the broadcast. You guys are amazing as always.
Lee Martin, open class winner. Lincoln Fox has never spoken with us. Sometimes Lincoln Fox has provided me a written statement. Today, I have no written statement from race winner Lincoln Fox. How do you feel about third place Michael Chase?
I feel okay about that. All right, jumping on in with Michael Chase here in the 371. So it came down to an incredibly close finish, didn't it, Michael? Were you wishing that there was an extra couple of 100 meters to the lap there?
Yeah, maybe if the wind is blowing in a different direction or something. It was pretty close.
Certainly was. You and Coates, I believe, were the first drivers to pit out of the top pack. It was a bit of a gamble to make, considering you guys were all alone for a couple of laps, but ultimately it worked out okay for you guys.
Yeah, I figured I was going to go with whoever from that group ahead of me went, and I wanted to pit early. So it was Michael Coates. It worked out fine for us, I think. We had some catch up to do, though, still. The other guys were a little shorter on their stops, but on this track, you can make up a lot of space with the draft, so it worked out.
Do you think the same is going to be true for next week's round? We go to Mosport, another high-speed circuit with plenty of flowing corners.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty similar track, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really like Mosport. It's one of my personal favorites, so I'm looking forward to that one a lot. And yeah, I think the racing will be quite similar. That long back straight, plenty of room to draft there.
Excellent stuff. Well, congratulations on the podium. Maybe it's going to be a win if you try employing the same strategy at Mosport. We will find out in 7 days' time.
Thanks. We'll see if I stay on the podium. Apologies to Mitch for getting into him on that last lap. I don't know if I got a penalty coming, but anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate having a chat.
Lovely stuff. Michael Chase finishing third on the road tonight from 5th place, David. I understand that might be all we have time for, unless you have another driver you'd like to talk to.
No, peer pressure works, and I did receive a written statement.
Huh?
It reads, "Great battle with Michael. That's what it's all about. Thank you again for all you do for HJBC and the league."
That's nice.
It was a great battle. We saw that lead change hands many times, and just checking how powerful is the slipstream. When do I want to make my move and stick my nose out? And it turns out that in the order of 14 thousandths of a second, Lincoln Fox had the sums right to take just a couple of points away from our championship leader, Michael Folds, and set us up with a very interesting back half of the championship still to come in Spec-5 World Tour. Every other round will be live here on HJBC as well. So Phillip Island just bringing it all a little bit closer with a big points haul for Lee Martin and for Lincoln Fox. And with nothing to add to that, from Reese Gardner alongside me, Michael Derby in our production with the replays. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations go to our winners for another classic strategy-driven pack racing Spec-5 World Tour event. We'll see you next time.